Hello friends, fam and strangers, enlightened beings, how are you? This is my second Facebook Live video today. I made one earlier and it went for 40 minutes, so my intention here is to give a more concise version. I really want to make a much shorter version, so it's easier for you guys to digest and consume. So, the more concise version of the video. Did I put this up? Sorry, did I use this? Hold on. Okay. So, the topic I wish to speak about today, in roughly between 10 and 15 minutes, is the ultimate model for living, which is self-mastery married with trust in the universe. Now, these are kind of two polarities. They are quite different, but they go together to complete each other. So self-mastery is about the highest levels of self-monitoring, manipulation, discipline, self-direction, self-determination, and responsibility. And we will look into how to cultivate those things. But then, trusting the universe, and trusting the universe is infinitely intelligent, good, and purposeful. And it is here to help you along the way, and you will get everything you need to get along the way in more abundance than you thought. That is also a very useful pillar for living an ultimately good life. Okay, so let us look at each of these. So what I want to do in this video, and it's going to go 10 to 15 minutes instead of 40 minutes like last time. I love to rant. So in this video of 10 minutes, my intention, I want us to give an overview of self-mastery, the definition, what it is, what it entails, and then some techniques for it. Although I'll be brief on the techniques because I don't want to go too long. And then I'm going to go into the sort of field of trusting in the universe and gaining knowledge that the universe is infinitely intelligent and good, and that we can be very happy to be here. And I will also give, within that topic, fields of knowledge and study, and even book recommendations for cultivating that field of knowledge. So out of these two main polarities here, and they're not really polarities, but anyway, let us start with self-mastery. Now, I actually really like the term self-regulation, but we can use either one. We'll use them interchangeably. So what is self-regulation and self-mastery? I would define it as your ability, however high or low, but it is your ability to consciously and purposefully direct three main things, which is your physical behaviors and actions, and then your mental attitudes and mindsets. I actually prefer the word attitudes. It's got a better energetic quality. And then the third one is your energetic state, and which translates into your emotional state. Okay, so let's look at each of these, What does it mean to cultivate each of these three pillars of self-mastery? And I might chuck out a few different techniques. I know way too many to share here, but I'll just chuck out a few techniques. So let's look at what does it mean to have self-mastery over your physical actions and behaviors. Well, it starts by knowing what are the positive actions, behaviors, practices, habits, rituals that you wish to be doing every day, because you know with your intuition, as well as your theoretical knowledge, but your intuition, you know that these behaviors and tasks are what you want to be doing. So you can list out what they are. Maybe you want to be doing some positive behaviors such as meditation, yoga, reading, having more creative fun stuff, creative hobbies, musical instrument, writing poetry, writing fiction, reading I mentioned, being productive, doing productive work on your life purpose, your business, socializing, making new friends, going out to nature, writing a gratitude journal. Just if you know what are some of the key behaviors you want to be doing, you then have the ability to implement them into each day. And just a little bit each day of that habit is infinitely better than none of it. So just a little bit of that habit. The next key here to self-mastery of behaviors and physical actions is time schedules and daily schedules are extremely beneficial. So knowing what times of the day and the week are you free and available to partake in that behavior that you wish to be doing. You know, first thing in the morning before work, we always have time. So instead of turning on the phone, just straight to yoga and meditation and then journal, you have time. So that's the key concept there, is knowing the ideal behaviors and actions for yourself that you want to be doing each day, that you've been daydreaming about, but now you can actually do them, especially when you use time schedules. So writing out a time schedule of how you can practically fit in the ideal habits, and then you simply enact the habit, you do the habit, and in doing so, you are expressing a higher level of self-mastery within that habit and within your behaviors and habits in general. One last thing about mastery of physical habits, also removing the negative physical habits which give us toxicity and weaken us and make us irritated. So if there's any toxic, and oh, by the way, all things in moderation can be cool, but if there is a toxic input that you're putting into your body every day, even in moderation, if you're doing it every day and it's toxic, it's so bad. And the moment that you just put down that toxic behavior, even if it's addictive, addiction can be an illusion that just gets broken through. As soon as you put it down, put away the toxic behavior, you will then have so much extra increases of energy, motivation, time, intellectual creativity. You will have more resources in a very holistic way to implement these the previous fantasies of what your ideal behaviors are. So yes, if you can remove the negative inputs to your life, the toxic inputs, whether it's a food, a drug, or TV, etc., you have more time to use these behaviors which are ideal to you, according to your time schedule. It's a great technique. That's enough for the first pillar of cultivating more self-mastery with physical behaviors and actions. I also love the words disciplines, practices, rituals. The next one would be self-mastery of your mental attitudes. So I delved into some techniques in the previous video, but it got long-winded because I do have quite a bit of knowledge on this topic of the mental attitude mastery. But it comes to, if you can articulate the mental attitude you want to be in, going into each moment of the day, into each task of the day, at the start of the day, articulating the attitude you want to have is very beneficial. And also, when you notice negative thoughts come in, or if you get triggered and you get into a negative mental attitude, it's very good to learn techniques for emotional clearing. You know, techniques where you can... I can delve in a little bit. So here's a great technique for cultivating more self-mastery of your mental attitudes. So you could call it self-inquiry, not metaphysical, spiritual self-inquiry, but self-inquiry for mental mastery. If you get triggered by something, you can just pull out a journal and write down, what is triggering me? What triggered me? This and that situation. Write it down. Then you write down, what are the beliefs I have about this situation that are triggering me? But here's the catch. All of the beliefs which cause us pain and trigger us are actually false beliefs. I can't go into this right now because I said I want to do the whole video in 10 minutes. But you can write down what triggered me. Then write down, so what are like the false beliefs that are hurting me in this situation? Examples include, I'm in a terrible mood and I'll be in it forever. I can never make that change I want. Whereas the truth is you can. So, I can never make the truth that I want. My husband is a bad person, etc. It's always falsehoods that hurt us. Then when you list out what false beliefs got triggered into hurting you, you then start to say or ask, what is the truth of the matter? Because while our falsehoods and our false beliefs cause us pain and suffering, the truth is often so much kinder, gentler, and loving than our falsehoods. And as they say, the truth will set you free. It is so true. So, journaling, clearing the trigger, you've identified the falsehood that was hurting you, the false belief, and literally just write down, what belief is hurting me? I'll never have what I want, I'll never get this, I'll never get that. And I need that because otherwise I'll feel shit all the time. Write down all the things that are hurting you. Actually realize where and how it's false. And then say, what is the truth of the matter? Perhaps the truth is that you are in a bad mood, but the bad mood will subside eventually. Maybe the truth is you were a little bit in the wrong in that situation, and now that you see that, you can make amends, forgive, and learn a lesson. Maybe the truth is, while you didn't get what you wanted in the short term right now, you still have all the resources and ability to get that thing you want with a small time delay. And it'll be even bigger and better in the future. So that's like cultivating a mental positive attitude, but the mental positive attitudes are always aligned with truth. So yeah, that's what I'll cover today regarding how to have more self-mastery of your mental attitudes. It comes down to really journaling, writing, articulating what attitude you want to cultivate going into each situation, what attitude you want to express, and then solving your negative attitudes when they get triggered by transmuting them into a positive one, by going from falsehood into truth. It's a big topic. Topics to read more about that include emotional clearing, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, positive psychology in general, cognitive behavioral therapy, of course. Also mindfulness labeling. So there are a few of the fields to look into if it piques your interest regarding mastering the mental attitudes. So we looked at self-mastery for physical behaviors, actions, and rituals. We looked at self-mastery for mental attitudes. And then we're going to look at self-mastery for our energetic state, which actually becomes more fundamental to the other two. The energetic state is like the foundation on which we build the other two. So what are some quick techniques and tools for enhancing your energetic state, for feeling more energized and alert, motivated and focused, and just happy, relaxed, and calm? 3 main techniques I will briefly touch include physical movement, particularly holistic physical movement, followed by breath work, and also followed by sound and mantra. Those 3 practices and techniques, they can very much heal your emotional and energetic state. They will heal your entire energetic emotional state, and you will be re-imbued with just an optimal, ideal, balanced energetic state. For as best as what your body can handle, given your age, your fitness, etc., doing those practices of a little bit of movement, say 10 minutes of yoga and dance, then 10 minutes of breathing exercises, pranayama. If you want to learn more of those, you can hit me up. And then exercises of chanting and sound. So different chants and vibrations of sound in the body, like Om Gam Shri Maha Lakshmahi Namaha. Om Gam Shri Maha Lakshmahi Namaha. Sound has an energetic quality which clears out the internal architecture or infrastructure of the energy body, just how the movement and especially the breath does that. So yeah, learning your 10-minute routine for holistic physical movement, as well as your routine for breath work, meditation, and then for the sound. That is how you can cultivate more self-mastery of your energetic state. So yes, that covers all that I wanted to speak about for the self-mastery aspect of the video. So as I mentioned, the first part of the formula is self-mastery. So to give an overview in about 4 sentences, self-mastery is defined as your ability to control, manipulate, and purposefully direct 3 different things: your physical behaviors, your mental attitudes, and your energetic state. But we can even put them in reverse, and it's actually more functional in reverse to master your energetic state, then your mental attitudes, and then your physical behaviors. And I recently just shared the techniques, or a few techniques for each of those. Now let's go into the next fundamental pillar, which is trusting in the universe. So what does it mean to trust in the universe? What I'll roll with here for now is, what it means is to have not just trust, but literal knowing of the truth that the universe is infinitely intelligent, creative, loving, kind, and benevolent in the absolute sense, and purposeful. And we can even say enlightened. So the universe, I almost want to call it a living entity. I know that it is, but for the scope of this video, trusting in the universe is cultivating the knowledge that the universe literally is infinitely intelligent, creative, loving, purposeful, enlightened. So how can one gain the knowledge and then come to know this is true? Well, first you must gain theoretical foundations, theoretical knowledge of relevant subjects I will soon discuss right now. But then in addition to that, you need to sort of meditate, reflect, and contemplate on the principles you learn. And when you do that, you will start to directly perceive the metaphysical truths that you have learned about theoretically. So anyway, what are some key topics, some key topics to read up on if you wish to develop knowledge that will help you trust in the universe? So, one key topic, I'll give an overview of them first and then break down a little bit. I think there's 4 I want to look at here. The topics include intelligent design, metaphysics, epistemology, and spiritual, mystical scriptures. And then even as a 5th one, you can even add in scientific knowledge of the physical sciences and biological sciences. They will help, but I think the first 4 are very relevant to this contention we're speaking of. So let's look at the first one, right? Intelligent design. What is the field of intelligent design? And so you may wish to read up on it after you hear me speak about it. So intelligent design, it's not creationism, because creationism is based on religious fundamentalism. And obviously I don't advocate that. But intelligent design is a more rational, logical, scientific-based approach to providing evidence and sound logical reasoning to demonstrate that the universe is intelligent. And not only is it like dynamically intelligent in the moment through biological systems and physical systems, but also it literally required an intelligence higher than the pure physical realm in order to architect and construct the architectural blueprints of the physical systems, and then which helps those systems to then self-regulate. So, this is different to sort of rationalist, materialist atheism, and especially Darwinian evolution. Their main argument is that the stunningly complex physical systems, and if you have some scientific knowledge of these systems, you understand how, like, infinitely complex they are. You, like, infinitely is not even a exaggeration. When you learn enough about certain physical systems from the level of amino acids, like the first building block is amino acids, through to proteins, then to molecules, then to cells, even that little hierarchy of functional components into a dynamic system, it takes such a profound amount of, a good word is functional coherence. I don't want to digress too much. So the main sort of arguments and ideas, as I said, about intelligent design is it gives scientific-based rational arguments that the physical systems we see in reality on Earth, or in reality, it is literally physically impossible for them to have occurred by accident. See, Darwinian evolution says it was just an accident and kind of blind processes of natural selection created organisms to gradually adapt to be stunningly complex. But the truth is that while evolution and the natural selection may exist a little bit, natural selection is good at fiddling with organisms, but it can't invent organisms. And every living system is quite literally an invention and designed with intelligent insight and knowledge, and they actually give mathematical proofs of how systems of this complexity literally require a knower or insight and know-how to design and then construct these systems. They can't happen by accident, especially because when you layer in this idea of like functional coherence and a hierarchy of functions, you can't get those functions happening by accident all the way to the highest level functions. A great book I recommend on this is called Evolution 2.0, How Biology Confirms Our Intuition of Intelligent Design, by Jason Axe. Was it Joe Axe or Jason Axe? I think it was Jason. So that's one key field, intelligent design. And that is like a good segue of people who are still a bit materialist, rationalist minded and atheistically minded to start to, it's like a segue of showing how the physical scientific knowledge with the right reasoning and right interpretations can really show you that reality and life is extremely intelligent, and that the life we see was intelligently created by a designer on a plane above us. And when you have this understanding of intelligent design all throughout nature, it really restores your trust in the universe, because you understand that you are part of an intelligent, purposeful process, and then you express that with your own life. You know, you are an expression of that. The next core field I mentioned was epistemology. So epistemology is the philosophical and academic study of knowledge and truth. It investigates how can we know things, what is knowledge, how can knowledge be validated as true. So as you gain a deeper understanding of epistemology, it can help make you much more open-minded to many fields of knowledge and understanding, which you may have been closed to, because without much epistemology, you might take on dogmas of certain ideological traditions. You know, whether it's mainstream religion or whether it's mainstream science or any limiting belief or ideas. If you understand epistemology, it almost opens you up to the whole universe of knowledge, because you're not tied down to any dogma, so you have more open-mindedness. So epistemology is a big field to study for trust in the universe. The next field of study for trust in the universe is metaphysics. Oh, by the way, there was one more book recommendation. I wanted to mention, which is why materialism is baloney. Okay. Okay, so let's get back into it. The next field of study, if you want to gain trust in the intelligence, goodness, purpose, and enlightenment of the universe, is metaphysics. So metaphysics is the study and knowledge of metaphysical truths. These are basically principles and structures of reality that reality follows, which do not directly they don't directly fit into mainstream science physical paradigms. They're actually kind of like a step above, and they're a little bit more fundamental. So like metaphysical principles are really universal and fundamental. So literally universal and all-encompassing, fundamental. And while physical scientific truths are more specific on a certain niche of physical existence. So in terms of metaphysics, you can look into the Hermetic principles. They are great. 7 Hermetic principles are great for metaphysics. Also, I was just pausing to think about some books. I was nearly going to recommend a book called Truth vs. Falsehood, because it does teach a lot about some key metaphysical principles, but it's actually kind of into epistemology, but they coincide, the two fields. So yeah, metaphysics is understanding the sort of structures and functions of the universe, reality, as a whole. So to list some of the Hermetic principles, yeah, okay, I'll just list them real quick without diving deep, because I want to finish the video in 15 minutes. Some metaphysical principles include polarity. So polarity is fundamental to existence. We need opposite and diametrically... It's still going. We need fundamentally opposite, diametrically opposed forces in reality, because something can only be recognized and identified in contrast to something else. So like we need an inner world to understand outer world. Inner world, outer world. We need that duality to have reality. Other dualities include up and down, hot and cold, past and future, hard and soft. There's so many. That's one metaphysical principle or reality. Another one is vibration. Everything is always moving in the universe, either really fast, almost so fast it is still, or they are moving really slow, and almost so slow that it is still, and then everything in between. So the universe is literally constantly moving vibrations, which is like energy which goes up and down in a cycle. Other metaphysical principles could include gender. So all throughout reality, every aspect of reality, including within us, around us, there's always like masculine and feminine forces at play. And you can define masculine and feminine forces in many ways. You can give different definitions for them, but there always tends to be like a force which is penetrating something, and then a force which is yielding and opening up to something. There's always a force which is sort of wanting to be more reductionist and narrow things down, real specific. And then there's always a counter force that wants to then open it up, taking more of the picture holistic. So masculine and feminine forces are always at play. That's the principle of gender. And as I said, for some of those metaphysical principles, the Hermetic principles are a good foundation. Then the fourth field, the next main field I want to speak about for further study, in order to cultivate your trust in the universe, is spiritual texts and mystical texts, especially like ancient scriptures. But then you can even find many, modern rewrites of these ancient scriptures. But a lot of the ancient religious, but then even not religious, but just purely spiritual and mystical scriptures can be great. As a yogi, I love the yogic literature, The Vedas are so classic. The Vedas, Upanishads. I also have really enjoyed some of the ancient Aztec spiritual philosophy. They knew God. They totally knew what God was. And, Buddhism may have some insights. But yes, there are many ancient spiritual mystical texts. And what knowledge do these give? These give some very overarching, broad knowledge understandings of reality, the universe, especially as it relates to the self and to pure consciousness. So, I'll also speak about how these ancient yogis were able to write all these scriptures of all these truths of reality, truths of existence. How did they know that? Well, the basic method the yogis followed to do that, it starts with creating an absolute purity and perfection of the physical body. Any toxin or blockage or dysfunction can be an obstacle to the purest flow of the natural universal energy that's meant to go through us. And you need that heightened energetic state to understand and perceive some of these truths. So that's a key one of how the ancient yogis and ancient mystics did it. I do believe they cultivated some very disciplined health practices. But then in addition to that, once the vessel is incredibly clean, the next step is meditation. So if you have enough meditative discipline each day, you have your meditation practice and techniques each day, and you become more advanced, you enter these certain mind states of awareness which are extremely alert, yet also like emotionally poised and relaxed. They're also very creative. And when you're in this alert, creative, and relaxed state, you can begin to directly perceive truths you would not have otherwise perceived. This is the essence of mysticism. It is when you get into peak states of consciousness through health and meditation, and then through peak states, you just directly perceive these truths of reality. And then the yogis, they write them down. There's a scripture for you. So that's an idea of how reading some of these ancient spiritual texts and scriptures and mystical texts can be very useful and handy, which, as I said, coincides with building the true understanding that the universe is infinitely intelligent, loving, purposeful, and enlightened. While individuals can be that, the universe is that to the maximum capacity. And we are like sort of these lower expressions of that. We are those expressions, we are that, but we have things in the way. Okay then. And I was going to give one fifth little field of knowledge which can help with trusting the universe, which is simple like scientific knowledge and biological knowledge and the physical sciences, ecology. That can help us build trust in how exquisite, intelligent, and purposeful this process of life is. It can help us build trust. So yes. Okay, so to give a quick overall summary of what we've covered today, the ultimate model for living a great life, I mentioned here, is developing a lot in self-mastery and then developing a lot in trusting the universe and having both. So complete responsibility for yourself and how you act in each moment, how you cultivate yourself in each moment. But then a sort of surrender, opening up and trust to the universe. So regarding that first big topic, the umbrella topic of self-mastery, we looked at what it entails. So what it entails is your ability and skill to consciously control, manipulate, and direct three things: your energetic state, and I gave you techniques; your mental attitudes, and I gave you techniques; and then your physical actions and behaviors, and I gave some techniques. So that's the pillar of self-mastery and how we can develop higher levels of self-mastery. Then the next core field we looked at, kind of polar to self-mastery, is trust in the universe. So to wrap up that, what trust in the universe means is to have the true knowing that the universe is literally infinitely intelligent and creative, loving, purposeful, and enlightened. The universe is those things. And if we can't see that fully, it just means that we have some blockages between that. But we can overcome those blockages, always. And yes, so key fields of knowledge that I recommend reading on to cultivate trust in the universe includes intelligent design. So the biological scientific proofs of how reality and physical systems had to be designed intelligently from a higher intelligence. And I recommended the book Undeniable 2.0. So yeah, intelligent design, key topic to read. Epistemology, which is the philosophy of knowing. How can we know anything? The next one was metaphysics, and I recommended the Hermetic Principles. And then the final one was ancient spiritual mystical texts. And then as a sort of fifth caveat to that is understanding of scientific understanding of biological systems can be very useful for that. Okay, so that basically sums up and covers what I wanted to speak about in this video. If you can develop higher and higher levels of self-mastery, or I like the term self-regulation, as well as more trust and knowledge that the universe is very intelligent and purposeful, and we are lucky and we should be happy to be a part of this progression of the universe, then you will live a great life. It is like you maximize your self-responsibility and personal power through the techniques listed. Then you master your surrender, openness, trust, faith, and love in the universe. Okay then, that sums up this video. Thank you for watching. I am Hardcore Yogi. If you have any specific questions, like about specifics in this video, like a specific question or curiosity, send me a message or comment, and I will respond to you always. Okay, thank you for watching and listening. Much peace, much love. Om Shanti Shanti Om. Namaste.